Does King Charles have 5 grandchildren or 3? Now, that might seem like a real easy answer, but I imagine you would be shocked how many people would answer just 3. They only think that Charles has 3: Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. People entirely forget that Archie and Lilibet exist, and out of sight, out of mind. And there's actually this little anecdote that the Sun picked up from a rector's wife in Australia, which demonstrates this perfectly. She came to the royal event where Charles and Camilla were. They were at her husband's church, and she brought gifts for his grandchildren. But she didn't bring 5, she only brought 3. And this is such a massive, glaring, huge problem for Harry and Meghan going forward into the future, because they have set up a scenario for their children to fail, for their children to be disappointed, for their children to be completely and utterly forgotten by people in so many ways. And Harry and Meghan only have themselves to blame. So I'm going to explain a bit of this to you because, yes, this story is a bit of an anecdote, but it demonstrates such a broader problem that Harry and Meghan have, because they seem to be very keen on their children keeping their title. The question is, will their kids keep their titles? And will anybody care if their titles are pulled? I think the answer is increasingly no. But we're going to go into this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide you all compelling royal commentary. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. We have a fun and amazing time here. And we love exploring different royal facets. You'll see I've been posting a couple of shorter videos from my Crown Report that goes live every Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. And it just kind of goes over all the royal news of the week. And I try to share some interesting and more insightful things than you will get just with the broader general report. So this is just a really exciting program. I really do enjoy it. And I love how people are enjoying it as well. And I did also want to give a shout out to Ana Lucia Diamonds as well, because they have come out, guys. Now let's see if I can, oh, there it is. With this fantastic new jewelry cleaner. So guys, I'll share with you a little bit of a video I did utilizing this for the first time. I took my Tiffany & Co ring here and I spruced it up because it was looking really, really tarnished. I've had it for ages. And what I love about this is just how gorgeous this looks. It's like a hefty piece. And I feel like I have a little bit of the Cullinan diamond behind me, you know. The Cullinan diamond is the largest diamond in the world. If you don't know, it's not the imperial scepter, but it's a scepter that you can actually see at the Tower of London. And it is the largest D flawless diamond in the world at 530 carats, if I remember correctly. So this definitely gives you a little bit of that sparkle behind you. And I love it. It even has a stand back there. I probably won't put it quite on the stand, but I think this is amazing. And again, I'll show you guys a little bit of a video overlay here as well. And I just absolutely love it. So if you guys are interested, check out the link up above and use code ROYAL20 to save 20%. And I think this is well worth it. You just got to spritz, brush, rinse, and polish. And you are all set to go. So guys, go ahead and check that out. It's an amazing deal. And I just think they're so cool. And that you can save 20% is pretty awesome. All right. So this story really does need a preface with a video of Arthur and Matt. So they are both with the Sun, and they talk about this particular situation where the wife of the rector had gifts for the royal children, but only 3 of them. So let's listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, but there were presents. I think the rector's wife gave presents for the king's grandchildren. So I obviously asked, the king's grandchildren? They said yes, for William and Catherine's children, George, Louis, and Charlotte.
So yeah, she only brought 3. When she could think of the king's grandchildren, only could think of 3 of them. So let's keep going.
He asked, nothing for the other grandchildren? But no, they'd only got presents, and that was a cricket ball, a rugby ball, and a stuffed koala. So I imagine, they've just been given hundreds of presents, and I imagine that the children will be looking forward to getting them back when we go home.
So it's not very long, but this little bit, she had presents, but only 3. She only had 3 presents for the grandchildren because in her mind, there are only 3. Now, I've talked a lot about this with Harry and Meghan, but it's really important to remember that part of what goes into being a royal and into being any public figure is your public relations strategy. And so when it comes to your public relations, how you show yourselves, your family, everything to the world really does have a larger impact on how the public sees you. And when it comes to the Waleses, we have seen Charles interacting with his grandchildren. There is especially a precious moment of Prince Louis going over and sitting on King Charles's lap during the Queens of Platinum Jubilee parade. There seems to be like this special tender connection between Charles and Louis. Not that he's not close with his other grandchildren, but it seems like they've bonded pretty well. And we've seen him interact with them publicly quite a bit. Now, granted, we don't see every interaction, and we did see the Waleses interacting with Catherine's parents in the videos when she announced that she had completed her chemotherapy treatments. But a big chunk of your public image, again, is what you show people and what natural interactions occur because of that. What is sort of fascinating, you could say, about Archie and Lilibet is that we have never seen them really, except for I think the last time was Archie's first birthday video. We have never seen the kids interact with their parents much at all. We've gotten a couple of pictures and a smattering of little videos throughout their documentary, but really we have not even seen the parents interacting with the children, let alone the grandparents, in this case Charles. Now, why does that matter? Because they've stated time and time again that it is so critical to them that their children remain absolutely private, that nobody can know where they're at, what they're doing, anything about them. They are completely private citizens. Heaven forbid you talk about them or even think about them, because you have no right to invade their privacy. Now, well, yes, I agree with that to a certain extent. However, when it comes to being royalty, that excuse doesn't totally work. Why? Because your kids are in the line of succession. Not only that, you are calling them Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet of Sussex, a place that I can guarantee you 100% we know for sure, absolutely, that Lilibet has not been to. I would guess and strongly, strongly believe that Archie has not been to Sussex as well. And then they have these two royal parents, you could say, argue royal parents, that we never see them with their children. And this becomes a big, big problem, because when it comes to the King of England, most people believe, and it would be hard to think of Archie and Lilibet as his grandchildren. And that is not on Charles, that is on Harry and Meghan, because they have made it such a point that nobody can see their kids. But when it comes to royalty, that excuse goes out the window, because you are defining and declaring them as having some sort of consequence on the state because they carry particular royal titles. That is what they're saying. That is what Harry and Meghan are saying, is that because of their connection and because they're so important, their children need this level of validation. But no, 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 you can't see the kids. You can't interact with the kids. Heaven forbid you share a picture of the kids. But no, 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 you have to take them seriously. They're in the line of succession. They have titles. Like, the disconnect Harry and Meghan have between what works and what doesn't with PR is staggering, because they believe that they wanted to be treated like, you could say, Eugenie and Beatrice, who do have titles, but their children do not have titles and their children are private. Sure. But Harry and Meghan are screaming from the rooftops that their children should get full-time security when they're in the UK, that they're constitutionally relevant, all these sorts of things. But you can't see them. Even His Majesty the King is unable to see them. So why should we care? Why should we care? Because we are slowly forgetting about them. We forget they exist. And yes, this might work for Harry and Meghan in the immediate, but this is going to have some long-term consequences for them. Number one, I think Meghan, and I would argue mostly Meghan, because I think it's her games that have led to all this, is solely responsible for the surrogacy rumors. Her and Harry decide to play games, and because of that, people don't believe her children exist. And I don't put that on the kids. I put that on Harry and Meghan, 150%. All the surrogacy rumors, rent a kid, all this sort of stuff is all comes back to Harry and Meghan. And because it all comes back to Harry and Meghan, when it comes to their children, if people forget about them, because again, out of sight, out of mind, why should they be screaming from the rooftops, oh, they're not getting this, oh, they're not getting that? You guys set that up. You set up the precedents where we can't see them. Ergo, no one cares. I saw a little comment about this. Was like, well, Brittany, of course they matter. And it's like, because they're human beings. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that no one cares because when it comes to the public perception, they have made them irrelevant. Now we talk about them, of course, because overall there is still a relevancy there. But Harry and Meghan, to the average person, have made their kids wholly irrelevant. No one cares because nobody hears about them. Nobody sees them, most importantly. In this day and age of like 24/7 media, if you don't ever see someone, you just can't connect to them. And so nobody is connected to Archie and Lilibet. And again, this spells a lot of trouble for Harry and Meghan going forwards because I imagine at some point, I don't know if Charles will do this, but I could so see William doing this, going, okay, I am sick of Harry and Meghan's games and I want it to end. And the easiest way to do that is to strip them of their place in the line of succession or to strip them of their titles. And we can do this by saying, well, you must be raised and educated in the UK. I've advocated for this venture time and time again. This is what you should be doing. It's what Sweden does. It makes sense. Why do you have kids running around the world with titles of country they have zero attachment to? That's just silly. And it does happen, of course, Greece, but Greece no longer has a functioning monarchy. The thing is, because of their connection to their grandfather, which is again to most of the public tenuous at best, the problem is that at some point it might be a little bit more firmed up if the kids had their own opportunities. And I anticipate maybe Archie and Lilibet get, I don't know, maybe a bit crazy in LA, and they're dragging the rest of the royal family down with them. Why would you allow them to do that? Yes, they're children right now, and I get it. They're not going to cause those kind of problems, but you have to think long term. The monarchy is good at thinking long term. You really need to think about this. What are they going to be doing in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years? Are they going to be damaging the institution? Or are they going to be raising it up? Those are two very, very different questions. And given who their parents are, I imagine they'll be probably causing more problems than they'll be solving. And so the monarchy has to solve the problem themselves. And again, I think they could change up the wording in the letters of patent to make it very clear and protect the future for Catherine and William's children to say, hey, you must be raised and educated here because you are representing this country, this culture, this, you could say, island nation that has been around for thousands of years. And you need to have a connection to it. You can't just say you're Prince Archie of Sussex because it doesn't really matter because nobody has seen you in Sussex. So why do they care? And I think that's the big issue is like if a referendum like that comes up, there will be no broad outcry from the public over Archie and Lilibet and how they've been supposedly treated badly. Because I think everybody will shrug and go, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. They're not here. They don't really matter to us. They're not having any impact on us. So if they decide to strip them of their titles, hey, we'll go along with it. And that again is the situation Harry and Meghan have created for themselves. And I'm not saying that they need to parade the kids around, but when the public seems to get the impression that the king only has 3 grandchildren, you need to maybe make a bit of a better effort because when I see royal children, and most of them are public in some form or another, and there's a reason for that. It's because you live a privileged life that's partially somehow funded by the taxpayers. And yes, now Archie and Lily are supposedly totally privately funded and everything like that. Sure. But there is sort of a quid pro quo. And I think it's kind of an unwritten one. And this is the one Meghan totally disregarded from the jump. And it's one that has damaged them because she's like, well, Archie is private. From the beginning, after he was born, he's private. You can't know anything about him. They paraded him around in South Africa once, but other than that, oh no, you can't see him. You can't know who's God's parents are. And it's like, why? Because there has to be this sort of relationship that the royals have with the public. I call it kind of an unspoken social contract. They get these immense privileges as royalty in exchange for giving up part of their privacy, part of their lives to the general public. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, did not probably want to walk out hours after giving birth, looking all blown out with her hair and everything, makeup on, and in high heels to greet the public after the birth of her children. She probably didn't want to do that, but she knew that was part of it because her children are essential to the future of the country. And so, in order to cement that bond between the royals and the public, she had to do this sort of, you could call it even a dog and pony show because people enjoyed it, especially they enjoyed it once you had George, who was old enough to join his dad at the hospital. Then you had George and Charlotte, who could go see Louis. These kind of things are really important because they cement that bond. We don't see the kids often, but we have seen them grow. You grow attached to them. And because of that, when something happens to them, like their mother getting cancer, people feel for them more because we've seen them grow up. We've seen them be this close family. And oh my goodness, they're going through this terrible, rough time. So, how hard must that be for them? That's what people are generally feeling. And I think, again, this is such an important thing for Catherine and William to have set up is this unspoken social contract. Yes, you get a lot in exchange for royalty, but you have to give up some of yourself too. It's kind of like any job, let's say in the public eye, you have to give up something of something. You don't get anything for free. And Meghan Markle wanted to take everything the monarchy offered and never wanted to give anybody anything in return. You just think again of how she treated the British public around the birth of Archie. Number one, you couldn't know when she actually gave birth initially. They lied and said she went into labor after she had already given birth. Why? They probably argued, well, it's because they needed to get her home safely, and heaven forbid you know where she is. Maybe, but I also feel like that's a bit of a cop out too. And you couldn't know which hospital she was giving birth at. You couldn't know what doctors, all these sorts of things that, yes, I understand a normal person, normal celebrity. Yes, you don't share those things, but a royal does. A royal does. And that's part of being royalty. You're not a celebrity, honey. You are royalty. That requires a different intrusion into your life. That's, yes, I'm sure is very uncomfortable. I'm sure, yes, you really despise it, but that's sort of how it works. That's sort of how it works. You can't totally get around it either. And so Meghan just, I don't think could fully fathom that in many ways. I think it really, really disturbed her that she would lack this level of control I think she so desperately wanted. And because of that, people were like, okay, why are you being so cagey? What's wrong? And of course, the surrogacy rumors, which already existed because she had made such a fuss over her bump by clutching it, making a big point to like shove her coat aside so people could see her bump because heaven forbid you missed it. All of a sudden, now everybody thinks that, oh, that was part of the overperformance to try to sell a fake pregnancy. And she had used a surrogate the entire time. I'm not on the surrogacy train. I've mentioned that many times. I don't really like that rumor, but I understand exactly where it came from. Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle completely and utterly infused that narrative into her pregnancies. And it has undermined, again, even the validity and the existence of her children. Because in addition to people just generally forgetting because nobody sees them, Harry and Meghan talk about them a smattering, but it's like it's something where it's like, well, if I never see them, like who cares how long Lilibet's hair is? I don't see it. Do I give a crap? No. Because like why would I care? And maybe they're even just saying it because Charlotte has really long hair. And so it's like, well, Lilibet has long hair too. It's like, but it doesn't matter because we don't even see them. Like, what does it matter? It's so utterly bizarre how they have played this. Like, just so utterly bizarre and so unnecessary. It is unnecessary to do something like this because all it gave rise to is these crazy, horrible rumors that have not died and have just grown louder and louder over the years. And they think you're lying about more things. The thing is, when you start lying about things, blatant things, like when she went into labor, that might not seem like a big lie to people, but it was. She utterly and completely lied to the general public, lied to the media. The media were going with the story, reporting how they're supposed to report. And they were excited. They were happy. They wanted to celebrate this with you. And then you go, no, I already gave birth. Look, here's my picture announcing that it's a boy. And they're like, but like, we're just starting to roll on you in labor. And all of a sudden, like, wait, what? It was just such a slap in the face to people. And Meghan has tied all those negative feelings to her children. Like she has done them such a disservice under the guise of, oh, I'm just trying to help. Aren't I so benevolent? But all she has done is drag her children down with her. It's really quite sad when you think about it. Like really, truly, very, very sad how she has treated her children in some ways in terms of their future with the public, their future engagement with the public has been damaged because of their mother. No other reason. I know people say, well, Catherine and William, the other palace people, they all like, no. When it came to lying about when she went into labor, that was all Meghan Markle. And As time has gone on, that separation has just grown and grown and grown and grown. We've heard Charles has only seen Archie in person a handful of times. I'm not even sure if he's ever really seen Lilibet in person. Same thing with Catherine and William. They maybe saw Archie a smidge more, but it's like they could count the number of times on one hand. And that is all Harry and Meghan's doing. And I think particularly Meghan, I think she wanted to play games. She felt like she had a level of control or something. But the result has been negative. And I think as time goes on and Archie and Lilibet are continuing to keep out of this public spotlight, the less people will care about them. The less they will care if something like their titles are stripped, their place in line of succession are stripped, anything like that. It'll just be a shrug by the general public. I don't think there'll be a big outcry beyond the Sussex stands because that is the situation Harry and Meghan have created for their children. So we shall see where this goes, of course. But if Harry and Meghan wanted to right the ship, I mean, there's some easy things to do, like go back to the UK, spend time with his family. You might even be able to share a picture of Charles with his grandchildren. I'm sure that would lift people's spirits. Because the thing is, I think Meghan ties so much of this royal stuff to like absolute negativity. No, she completely misses the point. The cool thing about being royalty really is that the entire public is embracing and loving watching your children grow up. You don't have just like a village looking out for your kids. You have an entire country, an entire world in some instances that are watching these little children grow into adults. I've seen this a bit with the other royal families as well. You watch them grow up. You get so excited. They're doing their first royal engagements. They're becoming adults. They're becoming more professional. And you watch this and you watch them embrace and grow into these roles. And there's something so exciting about that. Harry and Meghan have denied their children a connection with the public. And that situation will inevitably, I think, lead them down a path that they didn't anticipate, which has happened so much with Harry and Meghan. They don't make good decisions, including those surrounding their children. Yes, their children can still lead largely private lives. Most of the other royal families manage to have their children do public things from time to time, while broadly they are entirely private. I don't know what George's favorite subject is in school. I don't want to know. I don't know what totally want to know what their favorite activities are, but is it fun to see them from time to time? Yeah. Is it really awesome to see these little kids go from babies to like, preteens? In case of George, Charlotte is slowly becoming into that age as well. And are we excited to see their next chapters in their lives? Oh, yeah, you bet. And that is because Catherine and William have done it right. We see them occasionally, but broadly, they leave completely private lives. And Meghan, I think, lied to, you could say, the American public, particularly in the Oprah interview, seeming to act like somehow Archie and Lilibet would not have the same experience that the Walesless kids would have. Of course they would. They could go to school privately. There's not going to be somebody stalking them. It was going to be totally fine. But she malaised it all in this just negativity, said going, well, we're just going to remain entirely private. Well, Meghan, you kind of got your wish. But unfortunately, that also means out of sight, out of mind. I don't think people will be clamoring for Archie and Lilibet to keep the titles long term. In fact, people are just forgetting them entirely. So, guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye.